Hey there, hi there, ho there. It is time for yet another edition of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here at Quaker Steak and Lube. First Thursday show in a couple of weeks, Goon.
This is true, bud.
Great opportunity to talk sports here on this Thursday and lots to get into. Ended up being a pretty busy little Wednesday there for yours truly between Penn State hoops, the beloved Pittsburgh Steelers, and Penn State hockey. Good results in the afternoon, not so much in the nighttime affair for the hockey team. But start there with just the smorgasbord on a unusual Wednesday afternoon. The Steelers, it really is amazing the consistency with which the Steelers play to the level of competition, and they will play with the best of the best, even typically when they are not having a great season. They will play very well against those teams. But even when they have a very good team, they just seem to be able to play down to the competition like very few others. And it was a very frustrating game. Ben Roethlisberger and Mike Tomlin, I think, sounded like they had lost the game afterward. And as a fan, it was tough watching that game. And, I wouldn't say any of the three phases were exactly at the top of their game, but the offense was just atrocious in that game yesterday. So, Steelers are 11-0. I don't know that it feels like this is an 11-0 football team. It feels like it's a team that could still be very dangerous in the playoffs. It just does not feel like you're watching the best team in the NFL, which record-wise the Steelers are. I'd be hard-pressed to say right at the moment. Again, do I think the Steelers could beat the Chiefs? Yes. Do I think they match up well when they're playing at their best? Absolutely. But from a consistency standpoint and kind of knowing what you're getting, the Chiefs to me still are heads and shoulders above everybody else. I think the Steelers then are right in that mix with a group of teams in the NFL that would include right now probably the Saints. The Titans I would throw right in there, and I know the Steelers have the win, and that's kind of to my point. The Steelers will play down to the Cowboys, down to a Ravens team that, was decimated in terms of its roster. But again, do I think the Steelers still have a chance of winning the Super Bowl? Absolutely. And I think, outside of the Chiefs, I guess probably every other team, I haven't really sat down and looked, is probably similar to the Steelers in that they're not playing their best football every week. But boy, it was just tough to watch that game.
A lot of drop passes. I mean, that's the one thing that really jumped out to me.
Yeah,
was the amount of just plays they normally are making that they did not make.
Yes.
But I was trying to get in there earlier and saying, we're playing, we're not playing, we're playing, we're not playing, we're playing, we're not playing. All for what, 9 days?
Yeah, the Ravens were in the same boat though, and they were doing it with players that weren't even available.
I think that
a
maybe
week
they just
ago.
went out there and they had nothing to lose and just rolled it out there and had some fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it looked like that at the end of the game when Trace got in there. I mean, that was pretty
awesome
to
see. I will say that was fun to see. It was, I mean, obviously a broken play on the, Edmonds, who had the pick six in the game, but he was going for another pick six or at least a pick opportunity. But McSorley, that pass was a great pass. I mean, probably should not have gone for the touchdown that it did, but that adds to the excitement, obviously. And, I do think it helps McSorley's stock here in terms of long-term in the NFL. And I do think he is still a better quarterback than probably a lot of people are giving him credit for. And it was just cool to see, though, his reaction, the team's reaction to his first NFL touchdown pass, and that was fun to see.
That was he's active for that game.
Yep.
Is he a practice squad guy, or is he just like a game day inactive? Do you know?
I don't know that.
Because I was trying to explain to people the difference in that last night, and there's 53 guys that dress for the game, but actually they bring 60 to the game, and they'll have 5 or 6 guys who do not dress.
Right.
That's what they call the inactive list. So if he's on that, he's untouchable. But if he's on the practice squad, any team could pick him up at any time.
Yeah, he is, again, a guy that I think, maybe not a starter yet in the NFL. I'm not sure that he's not going to get there. And again, he just does have, there is a presence about him. I really, when he first walked out on the field, I'm like, man, he looked like Trace McSorley at Penn State, right? He does
Swagger.
have just, and there's just that, swagger, moxie, whatever you want to call it, but that confidence, and you can see it. I mean, it's one of those things that's hard to explain. But when he came out on the field, and I wasn't not sitting here telling you I was predicting that he was going to have the touchdown pass, but man, I'm like, no, he just looks like that guy still that just goes into the huddle believing that really think good things are going to happen and that he's going to be a part of that. And again, that part was cool to see, all the much cooler as a Steelers fan to see in a Ravens loss. Although, boy, they made it interesting right to the very end.
Well, I mean, look at Trace. I mean, let's just talk about that in itself. And I mean, there are guys who have played 10, 15 years in the NFL and taken 15 snaps total.
Yeah.
If he can go in there and do what he did last night and not go in there and check it, like, I guess like Duck Hodges and those guys, they went out there last year when they were called upon and they really didn't answer the bell that well. So they'll move on from them as a backup. So if you can go and prove to a team, your team, any team, that you know the offense, you're not going to, you're not good enough to be the starter because they're always going to have somebody better, I guess. But you can prove that you can lead the team and keep the team moving the way it was. He could play a long time in the NFL. And
again, very limited sample size. And, Duck Hodges came in and moved the Steelers well for a couple of games, and then teams
they caught up
looked at the tape. So, we'll see. I think Trace. I think Trace is a guy that can do some good things long term in the NFL. But regardless,
hold a clipboard, put a baseball cap on.
They have different thoughts, but
run a good practice squad team, and he'll make $1 million a year for 15 years.
That being said, again, that they're holding up the schedules there yesterday, and really the Steelers should now. Again, they have that proclivity played out, and I still just have a feeling that a bad loss is coming. And I'm not talking about the Bills. I just somewhere along the line, I think the Steelers will end up. They could win that Bills game. I think they're going to end up either 14-2 or 15-1.
They have Washington this week, right?
Yep.
And then
and listen, that's a Washington team that's playing with a lot of confidence
Absolutely.
right now. Again, it's not a team. If you look at the two rosters, right, it's not a team that should be. At this point, which I don't think you can say about the Steelers coming off of this game. Again, a lot of things working against the Steelers coming off of the goofy week and a half here that the Steelers have had. Going into another weird, it's a 5 o'clock kick again on Monday. So, we'll see. I'm expecting the Steelers to win, but it certainly is not going to be at all shocking to me if the Steelers lose. And listen, losing Bud Dupree, I don't think, that is now the second big loss on defense. And I get that this defense is deep. I get that we're at a stage of the season where even the backups are veterans now, even if they're young. But you've now lost a key linebacker in Ford, and Dupree. Again, what he brings, energy level alone to that defense, let alone, the tackles for loss and the sacks, the pressure. It is a big loss. Now,
what they'll do is they'll start game planning for what? Didn't do that before because Dupree on the other side was just as damn good.
Yeah,
and it was pick your poison. Who's going to get it? So you get a double team. Now you have one werewolf out there. It's a little easier to fight.
Yeah, so we'll see. Again, I think the Steelers will make some adjustments with the way what they're doing with their defense, and that defense is still very good. But again, Dupree, that is a significant loss at this stage of the season for the Steelers moving forward. And again, most teams are sustaining at least a significant injury at this point, so it's not a woe is us situation. But boy, that is that is a big loss to the
Big
Steelers defense, and that's not one that you just okay, next man up. We're going to get the same type of production. Dupree just brings, again, a special athleticism and a special energy that, there's a reason that he is considered one of the stalwarts right now in the NFL on that side of the ball. So we'll see.
They're werewolves, dude. The two of them
Yep.
are bad men to play against, and when there's
big
two,
time. Yep.
But it was good to see Tomlin get that win. A lot of people were on his butt a little bit about never winning a game on a Wednesday before 4 p.m. It was very good. It was
Yes,
good for him to get off the schneid there. So a lot of people have been complaining.
Another
and the thing is
statistical
that Belichick has never lost a game played before 4 o'clock on a Wednesday afternoon.
Yes, indeed.
So I mean, you compare apples to apples, oranges to oranges. I mean, that's what's going on. So, I mean, I watched the game here with a bunch of my Steeler friends. I don't normally do the Sunday thing with these guys or the Monday night thing. So I'm usually just weekend thing. I watch the Penn State game and get all fired up. But I like sitting at home watching the games on. But dude, you guys are crazy. like your fan base is. Oh, yeah. I mean, I know it's rabid, and I've seen rabid. I grew up with rabid fan bases in Philadelphia, but my God, it's pretty crazy, man.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's driving. It's like an event. It was scary and pretty cool at the same time. I was like, man, you guys really do live and die with this team, and it's pretty crazy.
Yep.
But it was good. It was a good game.
No, it was a much, from a Steelers perspective, unfortunately, It was a very good game. But, I think from I haven't seen what the ratings are, but I mean, it was a very entertaining game and a lot to watch for.
Goodell might see that and be like, hey.
As much as I despise the Ravens, and I despise the Ravens, outside of the Cowboys as much or more than any team in the NFL, but man, hats off to the effort. I mean, that really, if you're a Baltimore fan, as much as I think your life has gone awry, you have to be proud of that Ravens effort, because
what was the final
that
count?
was
how many guys were out?
I think it was 12 starters, right?
That's half your damn roster.
So,
that's unbelievable.
Good
for them.
It was an impressive effort.
It was good,
albeit a losing effort against the beloved Steelers.
But what would you expect anything different in this crazy year?
Yeah. And I was flipping over a little bit. I was not watching a lot of the basketball game, but obviously once the game ended, the Steelers game ended, I did flip over and did see the ending. It's one of those things. I just wonder how much in that locker room that they feel like they are playing for Pat Chambers. And it's an interesting dynamic right now because obviously they want to succeed, one, for themselves, right? I mean, they're still here, still playing.
Yeah.
But assuming that is part of the driving force is, listen, we want to show that Pat Chambers knew what he was doing. The ironic thing is it may help solidify the mindset in the administration that if they do go out and have a successful season this year, that they made the right choice. It's going to be the next couple of years that I think are just going to be very tough on the recruiting front to live up to what Chambers had been doing. And we'll see. But if you're successful this season and you get the momentum, right? I mean, it could end up playing out that this works in Penn State's favor. Regardless of all of that, it was a neat win. For Penn State
is a nationally recognized program.
No question.
There's no doubt about it. They are. I mean, they were the up and coming team about 10 years ago.
No, it was a good win.
It was a good, very good win. On paper, it's a great win.
Yeah.
And I mean, as much as I'm upset with how the whole Chambers thing went down, I know you are too. You still got to support the kids.
Yeah.
And these are the guys who are going to stick it. It's like the 2012 football team, in my opinion. These guys are out there. They got left out, and it was sort of like, okay, well, I can't really leave, so we're going to make the most of it, and they're going to play with a chip on their shoulder, and they're going to do some good things this year. They learned how to win last year. The only thing I was upset about last night was them not closing it. You know what I mean? Putting the final nail in that coffin. We let them come back, and we needed the 3-pointer at the end of or the game-winning shot to do it. But we were up. We should have finished them off a little sooner. But they're young; they'll learn from this. Again, I said I might compare this team to the 2012 football team. And that's how we got to support and then get these guys back because they're going to represent us. I mean, however we don't like how the whole Chambers thing went down, we still got to support the kids.
And I will say that shot by Dredd was a that was a big time shot in a big time moment, and that's the type of thing that again can lead to just that feeling, right? We talk about confidence all the time and how fragile it can be in sports, and how easily it can be propped up, and I just think that shot, both for Miles individually and for this team, it was a big one. Real big one, and obviously you need to build on it and capitalize on what that opportunity provides, but has a chance to again be one of those moments that launches this program to bigger and better things down the road this season.
We're pretty quick.
Yeah,
we're not a big slow team out there, guys. I mean, we are definitely. I think we can run with a lot of people out there. Not having the super big dominant big man out there is going to hurt us, but who really does have that anymore? I mean, the game's gone away from that. The best player in the nation's Garza from Iowa, and he is the best big man I've seen in many years because he plays with his back to the basket still, and he can play, but he can still shoot from the outside. So that might be the problem coming into the year is going against a team with a dominant big man. But I'm telling you, we can roll four guards out there, and we can shoot pretty damn good. I mean, it's going to be a pretty interesting season.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting season.
Hockey,
hockey losing to Michigan, was it 3-1, right? Was the final.
Just don't like losing to Michigan or anything.
No, I'm with you. Michigan is a really good team. I think a legit Frozen Four contender here.
I mean,
this season. So I
mean, last year's hockey team was the team. I mean, that was a Frozen Four, possibly a pretty good damn chance of going to the Frozen Four. The best chance in Guy's career with this program getting to the Frozen Four. So, I mean, it is a big time rebuilding year. So don't think that, they're not playing, this or that, or they're just not that good, or like they're like football and being a big letdown. This is sort of not unexpected.
Correct.
I mean, they weren't expected to be that good this year. Last year, our best basketball team in 20 years and our best hockey team in the history of the program, and both get shut down because of COVID. It just continues to knock you in the punch you in the face. So it's tough watching. I hate, again, I just hate Michigan.
But I do think you're seeing some progress. I'll be curious to see this game tonight and kind of what adjustments both teams make and how quickly Penn State applies some of the lessons that I think are being learned here early in the season. And, I don't think it's a dearth of talent on this Penn State squad. I think it is a dearth of experience right now. Yep.
Like we talk about football, get the young guys in their feet in the fire, learn how to play it in big games, and you're going to catch beatings for a while, but eventually the tide turns and you start throwing beatings. So
turning your attention to football, again, Penn State Rutgers on Saturday. In the noon kick, and it's a game that it's interesting. I'm talking to different people, and I have some friends that are just like, whatever, this season doesn't matter to me. Pretty much once you lost the first two, they're still following it, but they're like, it really doesn't matter to me whether they finish 1-8 or 2-7 or 3-6, whatever it may be. I will say I think this game is important for a couple of reasons. And again, not necessarily this season per se, but listen, there is no question that there is a feeling right now, right within that Rutgers program of momentum and that they're building toward bigger and better things. I think if you're Penn State, you want to make sure that you send the message that, yep, it's fine. You're going to be up and coming for Rutgers, right? But we're still Penn State. We're still, the big brother, however you want to look at the relationship. You want to clearly establish that even in a down year for us and, pretty good year for Rutgers, this is still a separation of talent. I also think, it is important here to kind of build some momentum down the stretch carrying into the offseason and looking toward next year that, okay, yes, the beginning of this year was, you chalk it up to COVID and just circumstances. And, yeah, maybe we could have handled them better. But, this is not in any way a typical year. And you saw how we finished up. This is how Penn State typically plays, and when we're back to being Penn State. I also think, just from a fan base standpoint, right, I do think it is important to win this game, just to, again, reaffirm in the minds of the fans that, yes, we had a couple of really tough games there, really disappointing results, but this is, again, over the course of 5 years, even if they were 2 games in 3 weeks that were really disappointing performances, that's still 2 in a 5-year span. You can live with that, right? So again, it's hard to make an argument that when you're 1-5 that this game is any kind of critical. And I'm not sitting here telling you that if they lose this game, it's the end of the world. But I do think it is a big game on the recruiting front,
absolutely,
on a momentum front, and just on the overall kind of big picture for the program front. This is a game that you need if you are Penn State.
Let's rewind about 4 weeks to our Thursday Maryland show. When I said, listen, every kid that plays football at Maryland wanted to go to Penn State, and they have a chip on their shoulder when they play Penn State. It's been the same thing for decades. Okay, so times that by 2 with Rutgers, because every kid that plays at Rutgers wanted to go to Penn State. There's no doubt in my mind. And these guys are going to come in there, and if anybody's out there listening on the team or in the program, you better be ready, because they are going to come out just like Maryland did. And if we're not ready to go, it's going to get ugly again. And then you do not want that to happen, because the recruiting thing, because Schiano, he coached here. He coached when I was here.
Yep.
He's been around the block a few times. He's turned that program around once. He gets a win over Penn State. I see that my friend Lynn has commented on there. Her father, REA, Dick Anderson, was the only coach to ever beat Penn State coaching Rutgers. But Greg was there with him then.
Yeah.
He is Jersey. He loves Jersey. That is a huge fertile recruiting ground for us for decades, forever. If he can lock that down by beating Penn State, and if he can hang 100 on Penn State, he'll try to hang 200 on Penn State. That's just the way he is. He's a super uber competitive guy. But the ramifications are so much more than just playing a football game on Saturday. And I hope that people realize that.
Yeah, and I'm with you that I think that message needs to be brought home to the team. I'm not going to beat the dead horse on the first meeting with Pitt, but I just think that was a game. I'm hoping James Franklin still has some lessons from that game going into this one, because Penn State just did not match the energy level in the first half of that game. I mean, that game meant everything to Pitt. And it's the same thing here. Penn State has to match the energy level more than anything else. Again, I don't think there's any question, right? I mean, there is no question. Penn State has the more talented roster by a good bit at this point. Doesn't mean that Rutgers doesn't have some outstanding athletes, because it does. And again, they are playing very, very well. And as you said, with a chip on their shoulder all season long, and that chip is only going to get bigger in this game. And that's my big thing is Penn State has had trouble in the first half this year. And if it has trouble here, I just don't know that it recovers, because I think Rutgers is a program right now that has enough confidence that if you let that confidence grow, that enthusiasm, as you said, Schiano is going to try to do everything they can to
humiliate, embarrass, beat, whatever.
To close the deal if they have that opportunity. It's not going to be a situation where they get up by 14 and you might see a little bit of a let-up. I don't know that happened in the Ohio State game, but you could certainly make that argument. That is not going to be the case. Rutgers is not going to be satisfied no matter how big of a lead it has. It's going to continue to play I think as aggressively as it feels it can, and again try to keep the pressure on. So to me, that energy level is everything for Penn State coming out, and it's been a problem throughout the season. I think it was there for Michigan, but it's really the first time that we've seen it this season. And whether or not they can sustain that and even pick it up some against Rutgers, I think remains to be seen. And, you go back to that Rutgers-Michigan game, and, Rutgers was an eyelash away from winning that one. And this is a Rutgers team that, again, is playing very well. And if Penn State does not, right from the outset, have its chin straps on and be ready to go, it'll be very well be a very long
just
day.
Like Maryland.
Yeah.
I knew I made a comment to all my friends. I mean, we have text chain throughout, as everybody. You have your friends that you text during Penn State games. I do too. I have some friends. I have some old teammates. There's a couple of them going on. I knew the first series of last week's game we were going to win that game. I could just tell on the sidelines. We made a play on the sidelines, and you saw guys jumping up, and they were enthused and all jacked up. And I was like, "That's it. This is it. This is what these guys need to do." And they were emotionally tied to that game. Again, it's Michigan. You're going to do that, but you need to be prepared for this game. I mean, you can sit there and say all you want. Oh, it's Rutgers. It's not Rutgers. It's a brutal year we are going through right now. We are down a lot of players, and this will have ramifications for 5 to 10 years if we go out and lose this game. Even worse if we get embarrassed out there. So, I mean, our guys, but again, bring that chin strap, because the Jersey boys, man, they're going to come out in their lunchbox, and they're getting ready to it'll be a fight. It'll be an absolute fight. I know Greg. I know the way he is. Those kids are going to be so jacked up for this game. I mean, jacked up. He has been beating these kids over the head all week about they didn't want you. Penn State didn't want you. You're not good enough. You weren't good enough for Penn State. Go take what those guys had that you wanted, you didn't get. But we're Rutgers. I guarantee you, he's hammering those guys now about it. And he's he is an unbelievable motivator. So, as I said, if we come out there like we did against Nebraska, Iowa, and especially Maryland, just out there like ho-hum, go through the motions, and we'll beat this team. It's gonna be ugly and embarrassing again. So I just hope our guys realize that they need to be ready to go. It's not, you got to produce that energy. It's not coming from the crowd.
Right.
You got to produce this on your own. So huge game.
Yeah,
we've been talking about this game. Rutgers is a huge game.
I'm with you, but I think you go back to that Michigan-Rutgers game, and you saw how meaningful that was to Michigan at the time, and that was just Michigan's second win of the season as well. And I just think again, you've just got to be ready and
we can't go out there with the attitude. Everything. Hey, we just beat Michigan. Oh, we're Penn State. We're just going to roll our helmet out there, borrow a Joeism right there. You're not going to roll your helmet out there and then they're going to bow down to it. I mean, no, you better go out there with your chin strap buckled and ready to fight, man, because that's what it's going to be.
Take a break here. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about the college football playoffs, touch on Ohio State's situation again, but just kind of big picture with the playoffs as well, and kind of how this season plays out and the importance of that for the various conferences. And then, again, looking ahead to what everybody is hoping will be a somewhat more normal 2021 campaign, as well as we continue with more of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show. We're coming to you live from Quaker Steak and Lube.
Johnny Broom here, and if you're in the market for a new Mazda or a pre-owned car, truck, van, or SUV, nobody beats a Blaze Alexander deal. But don't take my word for it.
Dutch and Bruiser say tell him Johnny sent ya.
Tell him Johnny sent you.
Hey, Johnny sending you.
Tell him Johnny sent you.
Tell him Johnny sent ya.
Yeah, the real Daisy.
Tell him Johnny sent you. And remember,
introducing the new dusted Ghost Pepper at Quaker Steak and Lube. 11,700 SHUs of fire dusted on award-winning wings. Try it, or are you afraid of the heat?
This is evidence of a good time.
And we welcome you back in here on this Thursday afternoon as we get ready for another hopefully exciting weekend of sports. Again, the Steelers-Redskins game pushed back till Monday at 5. Who do the Eagles have? forgive me. I didn't even. Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
Well,
I think it's a Sunday night game, Booch.
Well, you never know.
Yeah, national TV. Another national TV embarrassment. Can't wait for this one.
I did know that.
Aaron Rodgers is going to throw for 17 touchdowns, and Wentz will be sacked 84 times. Peterson will go for 2 in the end of the game. No, don't. You can trust that.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Good times. Good times.
I mean, yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad down there. Not gonna lie. I mean, I'm to the point now where all my Giant friends and my Redskins fans, they're all jacked up because I'm like, dude, take it. The Eagles would love a top 5 draft pick. They need a top 5 draft pick. They need somebody to actually do the draft for them this year, because the guy they have doing the drafts the last 5-10 years has been absolutely horrendous. Who probably will be looking for a job very, very soon if I had my way. Yeah, it's just bad, man. It's just bad.
A couple of things. I want to get into the college football playoff rankings. Alabama, of course, number 1, Notre Dame 2 right now, Clemson 3, and Ohio State is sitting there at number 4. And again, what jumps out if you've not been paying attention is Alabama's 8-0, Notre Dame 9-0, Clemson 8-1, Ohio State 4-0, and then Texas A&M is number 5 at 6-1, Florida 7-1 is number 6.
Florida
and then
jumped Cincinnati.
Yeah, Cincinnati's at 7 at 8-0.
They missed the game this week.
And then Georgia's sitting there with 2 losses at 6-2 at number 8. Iowa State is 7-2, number 9. Miami is 7-1, sitting there at number 10. And BYU is sitting there at 13. And I'm not sitting here telling you that they should be in the college football playoffs at 9-0. But I will say I think that is a better football team, and it's one of those things. There's no way you're ever going to be able to prove it one way or the other. But I really do think BYU is better than what they're being given credit for.
Yep.
But they just don't have the opportunity to go prove that.
Trevor Matich said it in the preseason this year when they had one of those opening weekend games.
Yep.
Because if BYU can get through this game, they're going to run the table, and it's going to be a hard decision to keep them out. But it's not their fault they don't play anybody. I mean, the schedule's made for them. They need to move to a better conference, in my opinion.
Well, one of the problems, I really think college football needs to go to at least an 8-team. When you have 5 major conferences, I mean, same argument's been made here since the inception. But I really do not like the idea. There's a couple of things that I just don't like about the arrangement right now. Number one is I don't think there's any other league, and if I'm wrong, somebody can correct me, but I don't think there's any other league division at any level where not all of the teams in the league, and I'm counting Division I football or CFB football, whatever it now is. In no other league is there a situation where at the start of the season, there is a 0% chance for some of those teams to win a championship, right? I mean, BYU, for example, this season can beat everybody by 40 points, and it's not getting in. BYU is not going to play for the championship, and even less so, I realize we don't have it this year, but I mean, a MAC champion, and am I saying that the MAC champion is ever going to beat? Probably not, but probably same thing with an Ivy League team beating in college basketball, an Ivy League champion beating the ACC champion. Probably not going to happen, but you have that opportunity at least. And I just don't like, I mean, it's probably fully half of the college football teams, Division I, that it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how it plays out. You are not going to have a chance to win the championship. That just bugs me. I don't know. I can't think of any other league where that's the case. Where if you go out and perform well and do everything that you can do, that you still have no chance of participating in the championship scenario.
The best thing I ever heard.
Yep.
Is after we got screwed in 1994, is they compared it to the NCAA tournament. You play, get to the Final Four, you win your Saturday games, and then you go home Sunday, and then they vote to see who would win the game Monday night.
Right.
It's asinine. It's absolutely horrendous. I mean, we're still sitting here worrying about teams not getting in, and we have I just jumped in with UCF a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
they went undefeated. It was like, hey, here you go. There's your congratulations. You get to play in the Fiesta Bowl against Auburn, and they destroyed Auburn.
Yeah.
And they claimed national champions, but they had no chance of getting into the playoff. And you're right, there is no other sport like that, but there's also no other sport in the NCAA where there's not a competition at the end of the year where there's a tournament. It's the only sport where there's no tournament in college sports.
Yeah, and personally, I would like to see a 16-team playoff. I don't think that's going to happen. Maybe ever, certainly not anytime soon.
Oh, then you're fighting over the 17, 18, and 19 teams.
Right, but that's
still 16
fine.
in, yeah.
Yes,
right.
I'm okay with that because what I think that allows, I think there are, I should have looked this up because I was planning on getting into this discussion, but not the exact. But I think there's 11 conferences in Division I football. And so what a 16-team format would allow you to do, and yes, would there be teams every year that would be in there that would not be deserving? Absolutely. Yep. And it happens in basketball, but you get to me, and again, I'm just speaking for me.
Throw your hat in the ring.
I get that there are others that can make the argument, listen, we want the best 16 teams, and give me a break. The Sun Belt champion is never going to be one of the top 16 teams. Fine. I'm telling you what I would prefer is get all the conference champions in there so that at least at the start of the season, you can say you will have a chance. You go out and do everything we ask you to do and get the results we want. You will have a chance. You'll have that opportunity. And I think any sports league, any sports conference or league that has competitive sports. So, and then you have 5, and yeah, there's going to be all kinds of debate if you only have 5 open slots then between,
the SEC's got to get 9 teams in now. Come on, you know how it works.
Well, listen, and you may have years where, there are 3 or 4 additional SEC teams, and we're going to be arguing with the Big 12 runner-up or whatever. I'm telling you, I would much rather have those arguments and debates, and no matter where you draw the line, right, there's going to be that debate about the next team out. But I think if you allow all of the conference champions in,
yep, I got you.
And then have again, you'll still have that ability to get some of the other teams from the power conferences that are on the cusp in there. To me, that would make the most sense. But at least if you go to 8 teams, right, you can. The way I would like to see it set up, and I don't think it's how it would be set up, but I would set it up so that you have the 5 Power 5 conference champions, 2 at-large bids from among those, and then I would take, and if you want to add the criterion that it has to be an undefeated team from one of the other conferences, fine, but I would make one of those slots available to whoever you think is the best undefeated conference champion from among the other conferences. So at least there's some chance, some opportunity there for those schools. And most years, truthfully, between the Boise States and the BYUs, and I mean, you're going to have a team that I think is going to be very competitive at the very least, if not a team capable of winning.
They're playing as a great team. Yeah, a great team can beat a subpar team who doesn't want to be there. Like I said, UCF just humiliating Auburn a couple of years ago. Boise State beat Oklahoma in that Fiesta Bowl. I mean, there's teams out there who could do this, and you're right. I mean, you imagine busting your stones 8 months a year getting ready for a football season, and then you get ready for the football season and say, we can win every game, and we're not going to – still not going to get invited to the big games.
Not going to matter. There's no chance. So that being said –
well, that'll change. I mean, our society is a participation trophy society now. So, I mean, give it some time. I mean, they may work the NCAA down and have a 114-team tournament here soon. Alabama's going to be playing Poughkeepsie State in the opening round.
Let the good times roll.
Yeah, here we go, guys. The spread's 911. So, the fact that we are still talking about this, I mean, this has been going on since, I'll just use Penn State, 68-69.
Yeah.
I mean, just think about how backwards it was back then. They declared the national title before the bowl games.
Yeah.
Like, what? I'm like speechless thinking about that. like on our team and stuff like that. And then, there's some team. Auburn had an undefeated team that did not go anywhere.
Yeah.
Wasn't invited to the title game. So it's the fact that we constantly talk about it, it just goes to show how much it is about the money. There's the bottom line. A lot of people make a lot of money by holding these bowl games. There's a reason why there are still bowl games and there's 6,000 people in attendance. The TV money is huge, but the sponsorship money is huge. And, is it a tax relief for a lot of these corporations that sponsor? You're damn right it is. So, they're the ones who are holding up from getting to a playoff. The fact that we don't have a playoff is insane.
Right.
It's 2020, and we are still talking about this. We can have this conversation every year in the last 50 years. It's so dumb. The only sport, all the different sports in collegiate, in NCAA, the biggest revenue maker is NCAA football, and we do not have a playoff. And then, I'm going to go on my little rant here, and it's already
they do
set
have
up.
a playoff
about
now, technically.
Yeah, well, the 4 teams, and they're setting it up nice and pretty for the ACC, who play the Little Sisters of the Poor 9 games a year, and then they play one big game, and then they're going to rematch, and then Notre Dame's going to lose to Clemson, and they're still going to try and get 2 ACC teams in there because they want to get Notre Dame in the final, and not in the final, but in the
playoffs.
In the playoffs. It's good for ratings, but there's no fans. Notre Dame travels. It'll be great. There's no one going to these bowl games.
Yeah.
No one's allowed there. So is this going to be a different year? For Ohio State to sit there and get screwed because they're going to, maybe only have 6 wins or 6 games.
Well, it's interesting because, we were talking on Tuesday. I was watching, I think it had to have been ESPN, and I'm forgetting who. It wasn't Heather Dinich, but it was one of the other experts they were talking to about Ohio State and their situation. And the caveat in it, it's what I kind of said Tuesday, but I'm just wondering if there's some if the Big Ten is at least through back channels giving some indication that it may be willing to waive its preseason rules, because the comment was made that, as it's set up right now, Ohio State wouldn't be permitted to play in the Big Ten championship game if it doesn't get to 6. But there's nothing stopping the Big Ten from changing its own rules, and that's true. I do think you're going to run into, if that happens, and I don't like getting into the. This is a hypothetical of a hypothetical. But
we're hypothetical people.
If we allow Ohio State, if we change the rules to allow Ohio State into the championship game, and by the way, do I think Ohio State is deserving? I think Ohio State is up here,
sure,
and everybody else in the Big Ten, Northwestern, Wisconsin, and everybody else. To me. And again, that doesn't mean Ohio State couldn't lose on a given Saturday, right? Ohio State lost to an inferior Purdue team, has lost to inferior teams
this week.
So, do I think Ohio State is capable of losing? Yes. But do I think Ohio State is heads and shoulders above the rest of the conference this year?
Absolutely.
Also, yes. So, do I think there's a more or even close to as deserving of a team in the East? Nope. Being in that championship game, and even if Ohio State is still at 4. That being said, if you set up the parameters at the start of the season, right, and everybody agreed to it, and maybe everybody didn't agree to it. Maybe it was the Big Ten, this is, you will agree to it or there's not going to be a season. But, if everybody's like, yeah, okay, that's what we're going to have to do, and then you change those rules to accommodate a team that is perceived to get the breaks to begin with. And again, Ohio State is the class of the conference and has been for quite some time. But it does get the benefit of the doubt as a result of that. And I think if you actually change the rules after telling everybody these are the rules, this is what you have to do. You have to get to 6 games, and we understand you might not be able to, but if you don't, we're not going, you just can't be in the championship game. And if they then turn around and say, nope, we're changing those rules to accommodate Ohio State because we know that Ohio State can go win or play for a national championship at the very least, and nobody else, and we don't feel, and that's what would be the hidden message would be, we don't feel like anybody else is going to be able to represent the conference as well. again, even if that's accurate, I just I think that resentment that many, certainly Penn State fans, have toward the conference, and I suspect you go right on down the line here, that it is going to only enhance that anti-conference sentiment within some of these member schools, and at the very least the fan bases, but I suspect within the teams as well. Again,
they do it for
the
Michigan
rules were
in a
set
heartbeat.
up.
They would absolutely do it for Michigan in a heartbeat.
Possibly.
And we have the chip on our shoulder because they probably wouldn't do it for us. Oh, that's right. They didn't do it for us in 2006, by the way. 2016.
It seems unlikely, yes.
Yes, but I guess that it is a fault of their own now because they are actually having an outbreak where before when Maryland called out on them, Maryland had the outbreak. So, I mean, it's like the Steelers. They haven't had a real bad outbreak. The teams that they've played has been screwing them around. So with Ohio State, with them coming down with a whole and they are going to be down. I'm reading the ESPN bottom line. They're going in there very shorthanded against Michigan State. And, Michigan State's typical Michigan State. They could be the Kansas City Chiefs or the 76 Raiders any weekend, or they could be the Philadelphia Eagles of 2020. It's just you don't know who the hell you're going to get. It's like the same Michigan State who has the ability to jump up, and they smacked Michigan this year. They have the ability to jump up and smack Ohio State, who was down. By the way, Coach Johnson, congratulations. He's the interim head coach this weekend.
Yeah.
Great job by Coach. Coach LJ was a very good man, great coach at Penn State. So, but they could be in some trouble. I hope they're not thinking, the Michigan game of what Michigan's going to do. They're not going to play them, or are we getting into the playoff? We need to change this rule. They better get their heads on straight. I mean, I know that Coach Johnson will have them ready to go.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people. I hope that the team's not thinking that far ahead right now. Otherwise, they could be in trouble this weekend.
Yeah, I'm with you on all counts.
To go back to the first four, I mean, it's already set up. Clemson missing Lawrence, missing two linebackers. All their best players are out. Notre Dame wins in overtime. It's all set up. And Notre Dame and Clemson are going to meet in the ACC final, and Clemson's going to beat them, and they're each going to have one loss, and they're going to negate each other's loss, and they're both going to get to the playoffs. And from a horrible conference. I mean, the SEC top to bottom, and that's the problem with the SEC is there's 9 of the 14 teams that are damn legitimate. I mean, the ACC, there's 2. And who was the third best ACC team? NC State.
Well, and I think a lot of years, one of the problems is, though, I mean, outside of the SEC, right? I mean, the Big 12, the Pac-12, and the Big 10. I mean, Ohio State is pretty much it from those 3 conferences right now, right? Like you're not looking and saying, well, yeah, but look at. I mean, Oklahoma's playing better football, but I don't think they're. Forget the rankings for a second. I'm just talking about because USC the one year, by the end of the year, was one of the best 4 teams, but they had a couple of losses, kind of like the 81 Penn State team. I think at the end of the year, that team was capable of beating anybody, but I don't think as improved as I think Oklahoma is, and I think they're probably a top 10 team right now the way they're playing. I don't think they're a top 4 team. So that
Iowa State's proven to be pretty damn good.
One of the problems
win over Oklahoma.
Yeah, but again, do you think? I mean, I'm watching Iowa State, and I do think it's a good football team, and it's hard. I mean, the eyeball test, I'm not a big fan of, but I did watch a good bit of. Let me forget what game that was now that Iowa State had, and I'm like, I mean, it's definitely a very good team. Yeah,
it's a good game.
Yeah, and I think Iowa State's a good team. But I'm not watching that team thinking, yeah, that team's capable of winning the national title.
When you read the top 10 and you said that they were in it, I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
I don't even think of them.
But and this is one of the issues. Truthfully, you get past those top 4 teams. I mean, again, Texas A&M is very good. I don't think they're beating any of those top 4 teams. Not saying they're – again, the caveat is on a given day. But do I think they're – I think the top 4 teams right now are the best 4 teams. Now, something could happen to change my mind on that. Obviously, you got to let the season play out. But, I mean, right now, to me, it is a pretty clear cut. All due respect to Cincinnati and BYU and then, yes, the Texas A&Ms and Iowa States and everybody else out there. But I think those four at the moment have, as much as you can separate in a season like this, separated themselves from the field. And I think those are the right four teams right here, right now. And yeah, the ACC is a lousy conference, but I think Notre Dame and Clemson right now are two of the best four teams. Yes, I do. And
Notre Dame's pretty good.
Yeah, and it's hard. Again, it is so hard to try to accurately gauge this. So that being said, again, could it be that we're completely missing the boat on either Cincinnati, BYU, or an Iowa State? Again,
Texas A&M.
You're using the eyeball against test against a Texas team that I think is good but not great, and all of those teams. I mean, it's just hard to gauge it's hard to gauge any year, truthfully, anyway. But without having any of those interconference games, I mean, it is virtually impossible to sit there and say with any authority or definitiveness that one team is better or one conference is better than another. But
you're right.
It feels like they have the right four teams.
Had the
right
season
now
gone regularly, we'd have played Virginia Tech. We would actually know how good the ACC is by looking at that game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or at least have a better
opinion, better understanding. Because I mean, Notre Dame and Clemson are just destroying people right now. They're abusing people, but when they play together, are they that good, or are the teams they're playing that bad? So we're missing that by the non-conference play together.
Yeah, and
Good point.
And in basketball, you're getting some of that. Michigan State's win over Duke was a big one. But right now, and I haven't watched a lot of college basketball either, but I'm looking at the results, and I've watched some here and there as I'm flipping around.
You are a sports junkie like me.
Well, I am also I am one of those. It drives Marissa crazy. She controls the remote if it's Christmas programming or something that Reggie is wanting to watch. She gets control because it drives her crazy, and I can understand how it would drive anybody crazy. But I mean, I will flip between 2 or 3 games and check in with the the cable news channels and with whatever, pick a show or two. I mean, I'll be simultaneously watching 4 or 5 things, including 2 or 3 sporting events.
I'm straight Hallmark
on
lifetime.
any given evening.
That's I'm a straight Hallmark Christmas and Lifetime.
That is on
movie.
one of our TVs pretty much 24/7.
That's what I am. I don't watch sports anymore. I just watch the Hallmark channel or the Lifetime network.
But so that being said, I will say I think Gonzaga. I'm really excited about this Gonzaga Baylor game this weekend because I do think that has the feel to me of a game that it could be a prelude to the national championship game. I mean, I think both of those teams, again, right now as we sit here, I think would be among my favorites for getting to the Final Four right now, and they're both big time legit programs and teams this year. So
it upset me. My friends are a couple of Illinois guys, so I have an affinity for the Illini, and they've been talking this team up for a whole year now, and it made me mad last night that they didn't finish that game out.
Yeah,
they gave that game away, in my opinion.
I don't disagree with you, and I do think it's a good team.
But Gonzaga took it, though. I mean, there's a difference in a team that can finish versus a team who knows how to finish. Illinois just did not finish that game, and Gonzaga took it away from them. But you're right. The Gonzaga Baylor game is going to be damn good.
Yeah,
this early in the year.
Yep. No, there's been some great matchups. That Michigan State Duke game was a fun one.
Just realize this is the latest ever Penn State football game. Time of year.
Yeah.
I mean, last week was Thanksgiving. We usually have a game then, and then we're usually done regular season games.
Yeah.
We have 3 more weeks.
Yep.
Oh man.
Hopefully
I just thought about that.
Hopefully it's an entertaining.
Right?
3 weeks.
Like I said, to go back to the Penn State Rutgers game, I'm being serious. If our guys go out there and like they have been a little lackadaisical and like, hey, no emotion, no fire. I mean, Rutgers is going to embarrass them, and I do not want it to happen. I have faith in James that he got these guys over that mountain, and they crossed that mountain last week by the big Michigan win, and guys are fired up, and he's playing a lot of young guys right now. I said it Tuesday. I don't think I've ever seen so many guys on one team play in Penn State history.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they played the whole roster out there Saturday, which was awesome.
Well, and I think that part of this is I think trying to build, like you were talking about on the sideline, right? And I do think that is contributing to, okay, now we're all feeling like we
I mean,
are
if
in
they
this
want to
together.
use the fans getting down on them for being 0-5 and use that as momentum to get them fired up, dude, do it.
Yeah, use whatever
you got
to
do. But if you're going to use, like I said, I mean, fans were. I mean, you were 0-5. You were playing with no heart. No, people were upset. A lot of people were upset. But if players are going to take that and, oh, you're not with us anymore. You now you love us because we're winning. You're going to have that attitude. You're going to go right back to 3 weeks ago.
Well, I'm really curious to see also what the game plan is, especially offensively here against Rutgers. I would love to see Penn State come out on the first series with just a bunch of quick hitter short passes and try to use that to then set up both the run game and the long passing game a little bit later. But I would love
into the end zone.
Yeah, I would love to just see that on that first series, just little button hooks and little flare passes to the running backs even, but just little things to try to get into a rhythm, slow down, because I think Rutgers will be coming hard right off of the defensive line. I would just it's fun to try to, and listen, I'm as amateur as anybody when it comes to trying to.
Very true.
Zero coaching experience here, even at any level.
Good point.
But I like the idea of and I try to do this periodically with my teams. It's like, man, if I was the coach, what would I do? And I really think it would be effective against Rutgers, and I think it would allow. Presuming it's Sean Clifford that's starting, that I think it will allow him to get into a rhythm, get some confidence. I think you can spread the ball around a little bit that way. And again, going back to getting everybody involved and feeling like this is
you're onto something,
a team concept. And I also think it slows, Rutgers then would be,
not so blitz
wait a second, hold on. Maybe we need to re-examine what we're doing. And then again, I think that running game is there for Penn State.
Yes.
Chris Bugonati pointed out a couple of weeks ago that they just need to stick with it. Yeah. But I think if you come out of that first series and just 6 or 7 quick hitting passes, it will allow that to set up the running game.
I think that Clifford hash to hash throws an unbelievable deep ball.
Yes,
an unbelievable deep ball. You got to pepper him on the outside. Stop running the freaking fades in the end zone because it's not working.
Yeah.
Get him, but you got to dump off to the running back, dump off to the tight end, flares out of the backfield. Get these guys spread around. Open up the deep middle. Do what Clifford is really good at. He is an amazing deep ball thrower down the middle of the field. He throws a perfect pass for that. Set that up. Yeah. I mean, I think that our guys are smart enough. I mean, James is a damn good coach. He'll understand that. You got to play to your kids positive. And I think that he does that so well. And what you're saying is completely true. Get them on their heels a little bit. Open up the run game. Get some flare patterns out there, some wide receiver screens. Dump off to the tight ends. Open up the middle of the field. I mean, just be ready to go.
So we are 6 games into the season.
And it's December.
And and my predictions have been the only one that I would say I was even close on really was Ohio State, because I thought I picked Ohio State to win, but I thought it would be a close game. I think I called it even a little closer maybe than what it was. But that's the only game I've been close on. I've had Penn State winning every other game until last week, and again, partly in I think we were both trying to employ reverse psychology. So, with that in mind,
you're going to go with it.
I'm going to throw it to you first. What are you doing? And then I will, with a wink and a nod, give you my.
With that Maryland game, I was off by 78 points, I think, in my prediction versus the actual final score.
Yeah, you were not the only one.
I'm not going to go with reverse psychology this week. I think our guys are mature. They're old enough to realize that they need to go out there and play. They got to play the game. They can't just walk out there and say we're Penn State. go away. I think we win by 2 touchdowns, 31-17.
I am playing reverse psychology, so again, take my prediction with a grain of salt, but I do not want to. Again, 4 times I predicted a Penn State win, Penn State lost. 2 times I predicted Penn State loss, and they're 1-1. I'm going to take the odds here, and with that in mind, I am taking Rutgers in a 23-21 slugfest in Piscataway. But again, the idea here, folks, is I'm predicting it with a reason and a cause behind it. But I'm trying my best to help you out, guys. I'm trying my best. So we'll see how it all pans out, and we will talk to you again on Tuesday with another edition of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here from Quaker Steak and Lube.
Johnny Broom here, and if you're in the market for a new Mazda or a pre-owned car, truck, van, or SUV, nobody beats a Blaze Alexander deal. But don't take my word for it.
Dutch and Bruiser say tell him Johnny sent ya.
Tell him Johnny sent you.
Tell Johnny sending you.
Tell him Johnny sent you.
Tell him Johnny sent ya.
Yeah, the real Jay-Z.
Tell him Johnny sent you.
And remember,
Introducing the new dusted Ghost Pepper at Quaker Steak and Lube. 11,700 SHUs of fire dusted on award-winning wings. Try it, or are you afraid of the heat?
This is evidence of a good time.